everyone. I'm Michaela Parker, founder and executive director for the Alliance for Data Science and AI, or ADSA. And I'm here to welcome you to our Listen and Lunch AI webinar series, where we bring you experts from around our community to share their approaches to incorporating AI in teaching and research in higher education. Today, we are welcoming Nitesh Chawla, who will talk with us about AI for civic impact, lessons from a university-city collaboration. But first, a quick reminder that this event, like all ADSA events, is governed by the ADSA Code of Conduct, which you can find linked at this QR code or in the footer of our website. And briefly, for those of you who are unfamiliar with ADSA, we are a community of data science and AI leaders, practitioners, and educators who believe in a just, equitable future where data science and AI are thoughtfully applied in all domains for the benefit of all. You can learn more about our events and activities like this one at our website, also linked at this QR code. But today, I am thrilled to welcome Nitesh Chawla, Frank M. Freimann Professor of Computer Science and Engineering and the founding director of the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society at the University of Notre Dame. And his most important title, of course, is member of the ADSA board. His research is focused on artificial intelligence, data science, and network science, and is motivated by the question of how technology can advance the common good through convergence. He's a fellow of IEEE, ACM, AAAS, and AAAI. He is a recipient of multiple awards, which I can't possibly list here, but notably for this particular discussion, the Rodney F. Ganey Community Impact Award and the First Source Bank Technology Commercialization Award. He's also co-founder of Aunalytics, a data science software and cloud computing company. Welcome, Nitesh.
Thank you, Michaela, and good afternoon to you and everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to a conversation this afternoon.
Me too. So I'd like to first just set the stage briefly. The city of South Bend and the University of Notre Dame recently received a $1 million award from the Bloomberg Mayors Challenge to support improvements to the city's 311 call center. The project will leverage AI to identify emerging service needs and develop innovative human-centered technologies to proactively deliver essential services. So you're joining us here today to share how this partnership was developed, what it took to compete successfully for the challenge, and what lessons leaders at other campuses, members of our community might take away if they're interested in building similar collaborations with their own local governments. So, but I want to start, in case those in our audience are not familiar, maybe you can just say a little bit about what the 311 call center, what kinds of questions or requests do they handle?
Absolutely. So 311 call center is our city's wonderful way of service delivery. So let's say if I have a problem, let's say if I need to, from all the way from my trash, I missed my trash pickup today, I'll call up the 311. I know there's a pothole, I'll call 311. So essentially any concern I may have that a city has a responsibility on, I call 311. And including any help I need from the utilities or etc. So 311 is a call center staffed by some amazing individuals at our city who receive calls from citizens, and then they react and act on the calls that they are receiving. So the current state of the service model as a result is largely reactive, right? The residents of the city receive help only after problems have escalated into a crisis that they're calling the city for help.
Gotcha.
So that's the current state.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of non-emergency requests and services.
Yes, non-emergency requests.
So how did that partnership between University of Notre Dame and the city develop around that 311 call center? So said another way, what was the problem or opportunity that brought you two together, the university and the city?
So we had an ambitious vision. So first of all, we've been working with the city partners for the last couple of years on a variety of projects and collaborations, and it takes time to develop such projects. Which we are one of the 24 cities in the world to receive the Bloomberg Mayors $1 million grant or award. And it takes time to establish that relationship, trust, our ability to work together, etc. So our vision for this particular project was we want to move from a reactive, the current state that I described at 311, to a proactive service delivery. And that's the role of AI that comes in. That could be could residents receive earlier, more tailored support, reducing crisis and building more trust in the local government. So that was the vision that we have for this particular project. How do we go from a reactive system to a more proactive system powered by AI?
That's very cool. So more predictive of what kinds of issues the residents might be facing. Is that what
Yes,
I'm hearing? Yeah.
yes.
Oh, great. So in establishing this particular project, knowing you already had a relationship with the city, what did Notre Dame sort of demonstrate that they could uniquely contribute to the project or to the problem?
Absolutely. So when we first started thinking about the project, we first received the city received a phase one planning grant. And the city invited us to join them in testing out the assumptions on phase one. Like, could we bring different data together, the role Notre Dame could have? So arguably, for all of these emergency services, there are three gaps that emerge. One is, there's a data gap where the city may have certain data within its systems. There's certain data that may sit outside the city systems. So could we even connect and the data across the city systems and even connect them to data that may exist outside of the city system? So we joined the city in our, can we, if first the question number one was, could we get access to the data? Number two, could we integrate the data? Number three, could we build a predictive model to do some initial evaluation of certain proactive services that we were aiming for? So the city invited us in the phase one planning, and we validated, tested assumptions. And in fact, we together went to Bogota, Colombia. That's where there were 50 finalists that Bloomberg Philanthropies had for the part of the Mayor's Challenge, had invited to converge in the city of Bogota, Colombia, where we went through 2 days of planning, thinking, design thinking sessions together. And we can only be arrived at sort of two assumptions that we thought needed to be pressure tested. The first assumption was, as I said, access to data. And second assumption was, do we gain citizens' confidence? Would they be okay with this sense of a proactive? Would we earn their trust? So we ran focus groups over the planning period. So we did all of that during a planning period where we talked with gathered citizen voices, talked with citizens and residents of the city, uh, understood, does it keep them out if it's a proactive governance? What if the city is reaching out to help? And so from that perspective, we did those focus groups, understood what the landscape of residents' response could be, while the data and software engineering team looked at, could we bring all the data together in collaboration with the city IT services? And at the end, we realized, yes, we can close the data gap. We can also close an action gap wherein we can take these predictive approaches and deploy them for the benefit of the residents in the city. And we also realize alongside that we can also bridge a talent gap, because there's talent that the city is bringing to fore. And then there's also unique talents that the universities bring to fore, from their, our ability from a data science perspective or an AI perspective. So together we were able to create a very strong unified team to address this problem of a reactive 311 to a proactive 311, and reimagining a core service that a city or any city offers from that perspective to a more proactive, resident-centered way. So we went through a very diligent testing the assumptions way as a collective team, and that helped us prepare the proposal that we finally submitted to the Bloomberg Philanthropies. And then we were one of the 24 cities in the world to win this.
Wow, that is such a cool story, and really resonates that you engaged with focus groups and talks to residents, really put a lot of thought into this pitch and this proposal. I'm curious, and it's not something that I put in our questions, but so what does an interface or an interaction look like at the end of this? Like, if I'm a resident of South Bend and and this proactive system is in place, where does it intersect with me, and how does that look like?
So the interface is That's an excellent question, Michaela, right? If we were to imagine a brand new interface, we would not have the residents will have to learn something else to interact with. We already have an amazing 311 system as an interface. The 311 team is making those calls, receiving calls. So the way we are imagining solving it at this point is, what if we can give a better list of this is an issue, this is the possible action one may take, and give that list to 311, where instead of them receiving calls, can they do a more proactive outreach? Can they do a better referral coordination? What if I need access to some other city service? What if I need access to a social services organization? So they are armed with that kind of an information, so that can be a more, as I speak to a resident in my city, I can say, okay, hey, this is what the concern, I get it. This is how we may resolve it. Let me refer you to a community partner, etc. So
I
the
got it.
entire
Yeah.
workflow we are trying not
Hmm.
to change, because if we change the workflow, we say let's do a new app
Yeah.
and what have you, it will affect our intake.
Right, right. Oh, that makes total sense. Okay, great. So, it sounds like, and you actually mentioned this, that you had already had a bit of a relationship with the city.
Mhm.
And this is, so it was a new project, but not a new relationship. And I'm just thinking of, some of the folks that might be watching this, either now or the recording. What did it take to cultivate the relationship with the city originally? And I don't know if maybe this has been you mentioned it's been a long process, but are there maybe key steps that helped in building the relationship originally with the city, or were there key individuals that needed to be connected? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. So I think first of all, the city mayor, right? And both the mayors. So we had, when I first started interacting with the city, Mayor Pete Buttigieg was the mayor at that time, and the mayor now. So we have been able to sort of, at the city leadership level, there's an interest in engaging with the university, engaging with the with the city residents, etc. So it's it's a very natural thing from the city leadership. So I must acknowledge that. And the city has an amazing innovation office as well, where the leadership of that innovation office has been very engaged in thinking about what we can do creatively with data and technology, etc. So those were the two factors that existed at the city, where from the leadership level to the innovation team thinking about what new things we can do with data and innovation. And once you have those two things come together, where the city governance is ready for ideas, ready for collaborations, ready for partnership, it makes life easier from our perspective, as a university partner. Because there's openness from the city side. And then, I think the most important thing that universities can do, it's not just simply about writing a proposal and it's saying, hey, give me a letter of collaboration. If the grant happens, I'll come and tell you what we did with the grant. Thank you for your collaboration. If the grant doesn't happen, I won't talk to you again. Uh, we have to show up for each other. We have to be present for each other. We have to take the approach of a co-design, a co-development approach, etc. So that's the approach that me and my team have taken. Sometimes we have worked together without a funded mandate, because it's the right thing to do, right? It's our home, it's a collective home, it's a common home where we live as a city. And if there are things that we can do, talent that we can offer, things that we can learn from the city to inform our research, why not engage in that kind of a collaboration? And that led to a common language, a common framing, uh, and a common experience that we shared with the city leadership and now. So we have been able to really and that, so when this Bloomberg project came in, we were ready to go. The onboarding process wasn't hard. The trust process of getting access to data wasn't hard, because we had trust. And to me, trust is not something that whenever you're working with partner organizations, whether the city or not-for-profits or even private sector, it's trust is earned. It's not taken for granted. You have to show up for each other. And that's how we approached it.
That's fantastic. And I just saw, I don't know if you saw it, somebody in our audience just thumbs up that statement. The relationships are built on trust. And that really resonates, I think, with everyone in our audience. So you've already touched on some of the hurdles I was going to ask you about. And it was a lot built on this relationship you have with the city already. The data sharing, the city employee time, things that you were able to work out with them. But
Absolutely.
I wonder, with this particular Bloomberg Mayors challenge, was there something about that call that made this the right opportunity for this collaboration in particular?
Absolutely. So I think, so first of all, this Mayor's Bloomberg call was open. It had to be a city-led grant, and they were open to university academic partnerships, right? So that was an encouraged construct, right? So we are deeply grateful to Bloomberg to think about that. Hey, because universities in every city, every county have a major role to play, right? Can be an economic engine for development, can be an impact engine for the local communities. So the universities are central. A lot is built around the universities in every major city, right? So to think about bringing on a university partner was amazing. So that's where the program allowed for a construct like this. And then we joined them in the planning session. I went with the city innovation leadership and the 311 leadership to Bogota, Colombia, and the mayor of our city, Mayor James Miller. He's a very forward-looking mayor as well. Like very, let's go do it. Very committed to the development that we are seeing in the city today. It's a remarkable growth that our wonderful city of South Bend has seen, and that speaks to our mayor's leadership as well. So then we went to Bogota, Colombia. We spent 2 days. And what to me, I came back as an academic. I learned so much in how do you think about the stakeholder problem? We often feel that, oh, I will do this amazing AI algorithm and model and it'll solve everyone's problems. It's not that easy, right? And we make certain assumptions even in our head as we think about, oh, I'll assume I'll get this, I'll assume I'll get this, I'll assume people will use it. And then we write a paper baked with those assumptions that focus on the method, not quite on the problem that needs solving. So, so that was the process we genuinely followed. But again, the call for proposals allowed for that construct or that collaboration to happen. And then with two willing partners in the city and us, we said, let's go and let's figure it out.
That's great. And it sounds like it was, I wouldn't say unique, but it was actually just fortuitous that an academic city partnership was allowable in this, and that you had built such a great relationship already with the city. Is there any kind of, and I'm framing this very broadly, but are there any kinds of expertise or resources including students or faculty or capabilities in academia, but also particularly at Notre Dame that are contributing to the 311 project?
Absolutely. So what our contribution is on the data gap, right? Like my team at the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society, the data scientists, the data engineers are working with the city technology team to figure out how different sources of data can be put together. We're also looking at place-based, neighborhood-based information as to how do we get at the individual level or the neighborhood level, etc. So that's something that we're trying to do. So that's the primary contribution. That's one of the primary contributions of my team at the Institute. The other primary contribution is once the data is put together, building a predictive model to identify these could be emergent issues. This could be something that the city could take a more proactive reach out to its residents and say, hey, we think these things could be an emergent issues. How can we help? Versus the city receiving a call going, hey, I need you to help me, but it's too late. That issue has happened. Right? So could the city get ahead? And that we are hoping is the case that so that we would, yeah, and that's where the predictive modeling or the ML algorithms that the team would be developing. So we are bringing in that expertise. The city has its own expertise, the domain knowledge of governance, of course, and how good governance is done. How can we imagine a smarter city of the future? And then as well as the 311 system that they have, the entire innovation office, really a lot of brilliance around these issues.
Oh, that's great. So I just want to clarify because you did mention the Lucy Institute teams. Are you including students in those and technical staff? Like who
So
are
it's a
involved?
technical staff. It's
Hmm.
largely a technical staff because, so one of the things that one has to think about, right? That if it's the PhD students may get involved, or the undergraduate students in the algorithmic development work as well. That if it's a lot more engineering effort where we are trying to truly build a a product out in partnership with the city that will be deployed and used and put into works, etc. It may not necessarily lead to a publication that the student craves, but it's still valuable high impact work where we can demonstrate impact on a city governance. So that's where, because of the heavy development work initially, it's my staff scientists and engineers who are involved at the early stages, and then the students will chime in or jump in for the development of any models and algorithms, etc., which might become publishable artifacts, if you will.
Oh, that's great. So it takes a community
It
to
takes a
build it.
community because it takes a community, and it also takes an identification of where the incentives lie.
Right.
Right? What is the incentive of a
Hmm.
student who's learning
Yeah.
to do these things while being exposed to an impact that can be realized in the real world, and at the same time having an ability to think about a research paper that may exist, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes a team-based approach where the staff scientists and engineers are going, we will go build this thing out. We will do all the plumbing that's necessary to
Mhm.
get the magic to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And that a little bit speaks to my next question, which is kind of thinking more broadly, right? You just gave a great example of how to approach any partnership like this is really understanding what is in it for the students, for the technical staff, what are wins for them and for the project. So speaking now, taking a step back and speaking more broadly about similar types of partnerships between academia and local government, are there any, for your colleagues in the audience, are there any practical steps that you would recommend they take to get started on this kind of partnership? And I guess more challenging, are there any pitfalls to avoid or things that you thought, wow, glad we didn't do that, or we shouldn't have done this and we had to pivot?
Yeah. No, I think no, that's a great question. The way I have approached this, and my team has approached this at Notre Dame at the Lucy Family Institute, and we have worked with the St. John County Health Department. We have worked with the City of South Bend. We have worked with not-for-profit organizations, Center for Homeless. We have worked with international global health systems, etc. It's a very wide spectrum of translational partners that we work with at the Institute. But our motto has remained the same, that the way we approach it, we focus on the problem that needs solving for them. We don't approach it by saying, hey, this is an interesting research problem for me, and I believe my research outcome would have an impact on your problem, and this is how I think about it. And so the script needs to be flipped. We need to listen to where the problems are coming from, and there are significant issues. It's a very complex problem. Even from this, the City 311 proactive, we are calling it the CARE project, is that we have to make sure that there's a human touch in it. We have to make sure that we are prioritizing the dignity of the citizens, of the residents, and the city staff that are delivering this. It's not just proactive service. It's not just about the algorithm methods of the system that enamor us as a computer scientist, perhaps. And we have to make sure that we have a strong, responsible referral network, that there's a follow-through attached to it. We're not leaving anyone behind from that perspective. So that understanding doesn't come by us simply thinking about it as an algorithm that needs to be developed. The algorithm needs to be developed, yes, or a method or a system needs to be developed, yes, but it also has to be deployed in the context where it achieves the goals of the context. So that's the problem that needs solving. So that's what we have done in all our engagements, is really understand what problem needs solving, And then we understand, we break it down, we go through some significant listening sessions and design thinking sessions together. And then we do abstract out that these are the core ML or data science challenges that we are seeing, and we write our amazing papers on that. But they are derived from what, and we never lose the sight of why we are doing it, what is in scope, what is out of scope, what problems need solving, etc. And that's how we have approached it, with taking in a very active listening approach than an active talking approach. Trust me, as professors, academics, we love to talk, right? So we have to flip that script.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that problem first mentality, that's something that I'm hearing over and over again when we talk about even just education and data science and AI, right? What we teach our students, take that problem first mentality. So we are running short on time. I just want to call out to the audience, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat, or do the raise hand feature on Zoom. We should be able to get to you live. And while you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to just give one more wrapping up question. Oh, all right. Maybe I won't. I just put one in the chat. I'd rather take one from the audience. So we have one that says, academic research usually requires innovation or novelty, but civic projects usually need tried and true solutions and can suffer if folks get experimental. How do you recruit academics to this kind of work if serving the community is at odds with academic innovation? That is a great question. Nitesh, you want to take that?
Sure, that is an excellent question, right? So, and that's a balance. So yes, certain problems are more applications and, more incremental and may not be as novel as we think about in an academic research that gets to a paper. There is no state-of-the-art table SOTA method that says my method is better than yours, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes a simple enhancement, simple improvement, or simple application solves a problem. And to me, that needs to be rewarded. That's a prized outcome that as academics we are able to do and solve in partnership with the city governments or the civic organizations. But then as we were working on this particular project, there are complex ML challenges too, right? That as we are integrating 311 data, utility payment data, other partner data sets, there's missingness, there's integration, there's multiple modalities of data. And then we are developing a predictive model and see what kind of signals or on household risk or place-based risk we can generate. How do we then prioritize households such that the 311 folks can do a more proactive outreach, can do a more proactive case management, can do a more proactive referral coordinations to a community partner. So that entire sequence, if you think about the entire pipeline, all the way from data sitting in silos today, and even when you put it together, is messy. Now we have to build algorithms that can now, not only the data is messy, missing, but has different modalities built in it. Now we are building a risk at the household level. Then we are thinking about how do we prioritize these, and how do we sort of engage with the 311 team who's going to be calling this? And our rate of false positives or false negatives cannot be very high, because we cannot have too many false alarms that, oh, that issue wasn't there. Then we lose trust. So these are complex problems in the pipeline, each one requiring a novelty. Now, that's a gift of this particular project, but I agree with you, certain projects may not have these layered novelty layers, and it's perfectly okay. It is perfectly okay, because then you talk about impact. And the way we have done this at the Lucy Family Institute as well, we have an amazing team of research scientists and faculty, etc. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Incentives need to be aligned. Our faculty at the Institute are non-tenure track faculty, very focused on impact. It doesn't need to be result in a paper, but they're driven by translational impact of their work. And the staff scientists and engineers are not incentivized by one more paper. So when you bring in PhD students or postdoc scholars into a project versus when you lean on the staff, that's a trade-off that as a leader one has to determine, so that the incentives are aligned with the work that what people are doing. And my goal is simple. It doesn't matter if it's simple or complex, novel or incremental, if I can demonstrate that at the end of our journey, we impacted one individual's life in a positive way. It's work well done, better than the next 100 citations I may get on a paper.
Yeah, don't get me started on the incentives in academia. I 100% agree with you. And wouldn't it be nice if we did more than just reward innovation and novelty, but actually reward impact as well, especially in our community. So I love that sentiment and hope we can push that forward. We are now approaching way over time. So I will just very briefly ask you if this project, if you envision some future beyond it where it might open other doors to other services or other collaborations with the city. Is that the hope for the Institute?
That is absolutely the hope. And I'm confident that I didn't shy for a second, because I believe in our Mayor James Miller, who's his forthright vision. I believe in the innovation team of the city, how they are approaching it. And it is so beautifully aligned with the mission of a university to be a force for good. So when you have three forces put together where we want to be, as a through our academic research and scholarship, be that positive societal impact on the world, and we have stakeholders who are willing to partner, who are open to partnership, are looking forward, I think this is one of many. And what I hope as well, and I see there's a question from Victoria in our chat, what I also hope is that we can develop a template, because I do believe there are leaders all across the cities in the United States who want to do these things, academic partners who want to do these things, that we can do a template for what the recipe for something like this could be and should be.
Do you have a moment to take the question in the chat?
Yes,
Should we go
sure.
for that? Okay. Coming from a local government point of view, I found it hard to ramp up academic partners to understand our world or business functions. I'm sure that I'm sure many resonate with that, especially with young students. What have you found is the best way to onboard an academic partner? And is there a minimum amount of time you would find is mutually beneficial for a joint project? Local government moves fast, so multi-year efforts and studies aren't realistic.
Great, and as an excellent point. And I think that's a challenge with that, Victoria, not just you as a local government official at whichever local government you may be. Many local governments experience this, and that's why when I framed my opening, I credited the city leadership, right? Mayor Pete Buttigieg first and Mayor James Miller now have been very open to what this would be, and the university, just with what we feel as our mission, is very aligned. And then it takes a couple of leaders where I have been very committed with the city in understanding, figuring out, mapping out the problems, showing up for each other. We don't even bring in, for the long time, I didn't even bring in a student partner or my staff or a postdoc, because that trust and that framing of the problem had to be established. And so if we can find that one person at the university who's willing to engage and spend time, and has the backing to bring in, that once something is identified, can bring in. So, ATSA has a list of all the data science institutes and AI institutes in the country. So if your city has one of those, call up the director. Right? I'm happy to jump on a call with you and the director of the Data Science or AI Institute, and we'll scope out the problem and challenges together. And I appreciate this. Yes, local governments have to move faster. And this is where, when I talked about earlier, who I bring in for my team to solve the problem it's not a longer term research paper approach. It's a shorter term. Let's be agile. Let's solve it. And we will discover some papers that we need to do.
Great plug for ADSO. Doing your job as board chair or as board member. Sorry. The offer that you just had to speak with a local government person and connect with one of our academic institutions is a great one. I really appreciate that, and I think that it's having those conversations and learning from each other that we're hoping ADSA can help make smoother and easier for everyone. So I appreciate that offer, and I hope those of you who are in government positions and are thinking of this kind of relationship with academia will please reach out to us, because as you heard, Nitesh has had a fantastic success with this. Wonderful examples and lessons learned and recommended approaches that I think would be really useful for anyone who wants to get started in this kind of civic academia relationship. So very much appreciate that, Nitesh. Thank you again. Thank you all for hanging in there.
Michaela.
And
thank you very much.
have a good rest of your day. Take care.